Not each person, each group. I did not make it for each person. Left and right, which is your odd page? Your left page or your right page? Which one? Right. Right. So the first year, we had just freshmen and sophomores in the school. So I had 2 yearbook classes, all freshmen, 2 sophomores. And one of the very first things we did, and the kids didn't understand it, is we had to come up with an obituary policy. And they went, Mrs. Wirtz, has somebody died? And I went, no, nobody's died. Hopefully we never have to use this. But we needed to do it in case something happened. So it took us something like 4 days, 2 classes, made a lot of decisions, and came up with one that was really simple. Once we had that first policy, then we were able to go and do some of the other policies and creating the culture that our book was going to have.
I joined Yearbook because my sister told me that it was a really good class to take, and they play a big part in the school. So, you know, I took the chance and I took the class, and I really liked to be in the class because you really get to see how the yearbook is formed and made, and all the time and work and effort you put into it. And it's a really fun experience to be in here, and for so long too. When I first started working on it, I was just like, oh my God, this is 10th year. People need to know that this is very important. This is kind of like a stamp like of approval that we can make it 10 years and still you know, prove our history. I kind of thought that at first. I'm like, am I going to be able to do this? Because when you're editor-in-chief, it's kind of like you got to prove to everybody you are worth of what you say. So, you know, every spread, everything I did, I actually make sure that, okay, these people are going to know that this is the 10th year, and they're going to know why it's important and what's the whole point of it and the whole celebration part of it.
I've had the theme for this book in mind since the day, probably even the days before we opened the gates to the school. We had this big ceremony and KCRA and everything was here. I knew that for 10, it was going to be 10 karat gold. And I've waited and waited for this year. But each year's been really kind of special in building up to that. And so the editor this year, when she was writing our opening copy, she was able to go back to every book and go through the book and find the cool things that had happened, and she referenced that in her opening copy. So our opening copy this year references, it gives the name of each one, it gives a little bit about that history for that year, but then we wanted to show that, yeah, just because this was 10 didn't mean this was like the end of everything, but this was like still a continuation, another new beginning, and that there were lots of great things that were going to happen this year, and that all those other 9 years had really brought us to this. So in this one, we were then picking words that had if in it, and so we had them for each of our sections. So like,
I thought that it'd be like an interesting class to take. It was something that sparked my interest because I like designing stuff, and everybody said it was really fun to do. So I thought I might as well try it because they say I'm creative. We like plan ahead so we can like have a guideline on what we can do, so we have more time to work on it and make it the best it can be. And like this year we had to do like 10 different parts to each spread, and they couldn't be the same thing on any of the pages. So we got like more content and more people, and it's like everybody participated in a way.
Because you want to make sure that when people open your book, they realize what happened that year and why it was so special, and every moment that was captured, you know, made its way in the yearbook. And when people look at that, they're gonna be like, wow, like all this stuff happened, and I get a chance to like go back and look at our history.